Welcome to the Birdhouse podcast, where we talk about how to build a business, how to become a better version of ourselves, while we strive to fly up to the higher skies. My name is Alexander Guller, the CEO of the Birdhouse Agency, and I'm your host for this podcast. Welcome to the Birdhouse. Welcome to the Birdhouse podcast. My name is Alexander Guller, the CEO of the Birdhouse Agency, and today with me I have Wynne. So Stephen, today's topic is a bit unusual, so to say. We're going to talk about the future and what we predict it's going to be like in some way or another. So, would you like to start with the first prediction?
I'm going to be making some money. Well, that's my first prediction.
Okay, so the first prediction for the future of the Earth is Wynne is going to make some more money. More money.
That is a fact.
That is a fact. Well, I would also put the prediction that Alexander Guller, the man himself, is going to make a bit more money, a lot more money, yes, and a whole lot more money.
I really hope so. My question is, how long do you think that the metaverse and all of that is going to take off? I think that it will be a huge thing in 5 years. I don't think it'll be that every single 90% of meetings are going to be in the metaverse, like Bill Gates, or was it Bill Gates said? No, it was Mark Zuckerberg said that there's going to be 90% in 3 years meetings in the metaverse.
Well, I think we are already seeing big changes in the metaverse, the Matrix, and so on. Like, everybody is on the phone, living on the phone constantly, always, at all times. So I definitely think that the metaverse is already underway, especially now with the crypto and also the NFTs, but also with the games and the more metaverse worlds, like a new world and so on, where you can actually buy land in it. I think I want to say 5 years, but I think that's way too fast. But so probably more like 10 years. I think there's going to be a place where people are going to spend way more time in the digital world than the physical world. And also, I also think, right now I'm thinking more with the blockchain and so on. I think it takes a bit of time before it's more common, but as Gary predicts, it's going to be one of the most fundamentals for everything. Also because it's so much built on trust that it's going to rule out the government. It's going to undermine government and taxes and so on. So I think the time it takes for that to spread out to the common people, and the time it takes for the NFTs and other metaverse kind of genres, games and worlds, depending on how long it goes out to the common masses, 10 years I think we're going to live in it quite more. I don't know if it's going to be the movie Ready Player One.
Ready Player One or Free Guy or
I'm hoping it's going to be a bit more like Free Guy than, but I think it's going to be much more about the Ready Player One. So it's always kind of tough to predict the future, because especially in our times, there is so much technology that happens that we can't keep up with the technology.
Yeah. And the big thing with what I think is going to happen is I think NFTs are going to be a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's so easy to make an NFT right now.
Yeah.
I can make a collection of 10,000 NFTs in a matter of minutes right now. And so within the metaverse, my question is, no matter how decentralized it is, eventually governments are going to want to take taxes out,
Mm-hmm.
because if people are just cashing in 1,000 or 5,000 of Bitcoin or whatever they buy the NFT with, whether it's Ethereum or Shinobi or
Yeah.
any of the major
Cryptovalutas. Yeah.
coins. Why? Like, how are they going to keep track of that? There's always going to be loopholes around that, but like, how are they going to know that so and so, other than trusting their tax form to know what they're going to make? Um,
I also think I believe that one of the reasons why Gavi is thinking about going to undermine the government systems and so on, the country government, is like, how are you going to manage it?
Yeah, it's like, my thing is like, it's so hard to even manage the businesses now, and I understand that like with the blockchains, it's easier to backtrack something because each there's a transaction token
Yeah,
for each thing.
yeah,
But at the same time, like, you don't know if that person's name is um, Pink Cow 58. Like, how are they going to know that that person is in the U.S. or Canada or China? And if they linked it to, say, just a U.S. bank account, but that doesn't mean that's a U.S. citizen.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So I just think there's no way the government can like manage it
there-
and make sure that they get their money unless they like um, monitor everything or
which
put
which
AIs to manage everything. Sorry.
which they're probably monitoring most of it right now. Now, can they do anything about it? No. But do I
You think they are
but do I
monitoring us? Monitoring us? You know? You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it would make sense of having a transcript of exactly what's happening. The U.S. stores every single tweet in the Congress library.
Really?
Every single tweet anyone has made has been stored. I think that was a bill in the late 2000s that they did that.
Really?
So it's kind of funny that anything you post on Twitter is logged by the U.S. in a historical context, that somebody in 1,000 years could look at it and be very confused why there are a bunch of people talking in less than 140 characters.
Oh, that! Oh my god, that was like, just think about like, if all those comments and text and so on was actually printed in like physical on physical paper, how much that would fill. Like, it's going to be the fucking U.S. Congress library in itself.
I'm looking up how big the Congress storage is. Let's see. That is false. Right now, it says a low estimate is 3 petabytes, which is 2,000 terabytes, which is a little over 2
Yeah,
million
2 million
gigabytes.
gigabytes. Yeah, like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's only text. Like, text doesn't fill that
Well,
much.
they still have pictures and everything.
Oh well. Oh
There's
yeah, of
videos
course.
that get on Twitter and all of that. But I'm betting it's more like a zilobyte, which is bigger than about 1,000 to a million times bigger than the petabyte of the storage that they have. Um, just because if they're doing that, and if they're wanting to log any amount of the YouTube that's out there, they're going to need a ton of storage. And if they're going to want to log any of the Facebook or any of the Instagram or the metaverse, like, it's just their storage has to get massively bigger.
Mm. Yeah, it's all going to come down to data and how we can manage data most efficiently. Um, but I think I think the scariest thing about the metaverse and what the future looks like is because all of the new technology, we do not know how it's going to be exactly. Like if you go back 100 years ago, yeah, there's a lot of things that happened in the late 100 years that's like still fucking groundbreaking and revolutionary. But you still predicted that you would be in the fucking same physical world. You wouldn't think that a goddamn picture you have on your computer on the computer it's going to be more than your actual house and so on. So I think that there was a bit more predictability in it because it was more physical and therefore also more understandable.
Yeah. Because there's a NFT that I think yesterday or the day before that sold for $3.4 million US.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I was talking to my girlfriend. She was like, I don't get like the whole like thing around NFTs and that kind of thing. And I was like, the reason why they're so big is they're exclusive. Like even though anyone in like and their mom can buy one, it doesn't mean that like theirs specifically is useful. But the one that sold is for I think it's like the Ape Yacht Club, where they get like a exclusive Discord server each year. They get because of owning the NFT, they get to go on a yacht once a year for like a weekend or whatever. And then there's like another 1 or 2 perks involved. And she was like, I still don't get it. And I'm like, you also have to switch your mindset into like you have that kind of disposable income. It's equivalent of somebody buying a PlayStation because they want to play with their friends on there. This person is just getting a yacht for a weekend.
Yeah, and also like if you're a music artist and you want to improve the music that you make, if you get an NFT that opens up, that is a ticket for a Discord server with, let's say, Snoop Dogg, Pharrell Williams, Kanye West, Drake, Jay-Z, whatever. Like, if you get each week, each month, maybe once in a half year, 3 hours with those guys, like, that is valuable. And I think that's more what it's going to be like, because it opens up a lot of the doors for many stuff. It's going to be a ticket in many ways. Like nowadays you can buy a ticket whenever you go to a concert and they just scan the QR code, and the same principle is going to account for NFTs, that you get a ticket for let's say a Discord server with Drake, Jay-Z or something. I would love to spend an hour talking with Jay-Z and Kanye West. Like, Kanye West is such an interesting person. Like, have you seen the podcast with Joe Rogan where he talks about how much does the earth cost? I want to be the fucking king of the earth or something like that. So
I have not seen that. It does not surprise me one bit.
It's so wild and so on. And also, like, let's say if you spend time with Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos on how to build a business, you're going to learn some good stuff. And like, 1 hour with them guy is at least, just going to say approximately, but at least 20 years of experience cut down into 1 hour if you do it properly. Like,
if you think about it, each one of those has millions and millions of experience behind them because of how many people that they employ under them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it's like it's possible to be. It's like you can get so much value out of it. But the thing is, so often it's the successful types of guys, the people that have made a lot of money, that's going to like benefit from this. And that's also what you can see when you see the NFT go for $800,000. Like, that's a lot of money.
Because the average person can't buy it. The threshold is about $500 that the typical American or typical just person in the world can't just say, oh, I have an extra $500 laying around to go spend on this.
Yeah, and so like they have much more disposable money, and like if I had so much access money, I would also like love to spend whatever many $1,000 to spend each month 1 hour with fucking Drake and 1 hour with Kanye West and 1 hour with Snoop Dogg or whoever it was and so on. Like that would be fucking great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And like meet the idols and icons and so on, and just like I don't know if you've seen it, but Kevin Hart talks about smoking with Snoop Dogg, and it's like the general principle is like don't smoke because it can fuck up, but like if you gotta smoke it with Snoop Dogg because that's just so iconic, you know.
Yeah, you're just like, I can't pass this opportunity.
Yeah, this is such a great opportunity. Like, you just have to do it.
Yeah. And there's so much in this world that's built on the why not than the why.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. And I was talking with a friend of mine and my grandma. I was like, the things that we can do right now before, like, because we're still in the early adopter phase of or just the building blocks phase of NFTs, the early adopter phase of cryptocurrency. Like we're still like hugely like in the early stages of those. That like anyone that has a stupid enough idea can make millions off of it. Like if you wanted to create an NFT that the only purpose was to get access to an exclusive grocery store, like for a month, you could do that. And if that works, that works. Like that is a stupid idea if you think about it. Probably be a year membership, because that's probably what Costco and Sam's Club stores needs to do, is create that NFT to hand out to people when they buy their membership.
And like just think about it. If all of the biggest supermarkets made it necessary for people to like have an NFT, a digital asset of them, the ticket for them to go inside a normal supermarket, like they could just everybody needs some everyday food and groceries and so on. So like if it's just said, okay, if you want to buy at us, you gotta pay $100 a month to be able to just buy from us. It's probably not going to happen like that, but in theory they could.
People are paying hundreds of dollars to get extra 2% off like their groceries a year, and so like because that's how Costco works right now, is you pay like $150 a year for the base membership a year, and then there's a step up for memberships beyond that. And so why can't you do that with an NFT for grocery store, for a concert, for I don't really care, you name it, a doctor's office. And like I want to work with different businesses just to create different stuff, because why not get into what is that going to cost them? It's going to cost them hiring somebody me a couple $100 to start creating them, $1,000 or however much it's going to be worth to the company, and it's not going to create much up cost keep it going. It's a very low cost thing to get into right now to create your own. But I was doing, like, I'm working on a project that has some NFTs involved. I can't really say too much right now, but like it's a stupid enough idea that I think it's going to work. But like the main maintenance cost for us to get started is like $15 a month, and we could make hundreds of thousands of dollars on it.
Yeah. So, and like there's so much money nowadays. Like,
yeah, and I bet in the next 6 months I can make that in that. I just have to learn have to know how to market it properly. And that's going to be probably the most interesting thing, because I can do as much as I'm a marketing agency, I do more of the technical work rather than the like out front work of this project. And so I have the big idea and I have the strategy and the technical work. Now I have to work on getting the face of it out there.
Well, the thing about marketing NFTs and so on is also like NFTs is not common knowledge.
No.
So what you have to the selling points we haven't had enough time to figure out what those actually are.
Yeah, it's trying to explain why paintings are worth so much to somebody who's not
feeling pain. Yeah.
And like it's the digital version of a painting. And that's what I was explaining to my girlfriend, because she's like, I just don't get that it's not physical. And I'm like, and I don't get why people buy a painting for $1 million. Like, just in my mind, I would not pay that for a Picasso painting. Like, even if it's worth $5 million, like, I don't care. But for me, like, I'll get into an NFT, and eventually, like, I'll pay $1 million for an NFT, because to me, there's more purpose around it.
And also, whenever you do an NFT, you can also do a smart contract with it.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Any NFT has a smart contract attached.
Sorry?
Almost every NFT has a smart contract attached to it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I think it's also like the smart contract. The great thing about that is, if you, as far as I understand right now, if you do it properly, it's not going to be any of the users that actually organize it. It's just going to be done by the computer. So let's say you do in a contract that each time, like let's say I made an NFT and I put it up for sale, and in the smart contract I say I gain $1 of the difference between each sale. So like let's say a person buys it for 100 and sells it for 120. So 1% of the 20,000 I get, and all that. And if it's just organized from the computer, it's I get the 1% before it even goes to the next person.
Yeah, it all happens like in a sequence really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's so much harder to fudge what's happening because there's so many records of what's happening.
Yeah, and also like, whenever you do a contract with a real life person, you always expect them to do what they're supposed to do with the contract. But the thing is, when you're working with a person, you can't always guarantee it. But whenever it's just a computer that says, okay, if this is a yes, okay, do this. If this is a no, do that. Yeah. That's not a tough question to answer, so to speak. So it becomes way more reliable, I think, at least. Because now it's going to be maintained by a computer instead of a person. Yeah. So you don't have to rely on the person to be truthful in that sense anymore. Because you just, okay, if you don't, well, that's your problem now. I still got the money, so to speak.
Exactly.
And so I think that's also what the metaverse is going to offer us. It's like the chance of getting of failing of recognizing another person's personality and so on is going to be minimalized.
Yeah, it'll just be a bunch of numbers, and like with that, like looping in the metaverse and all that, it's anything that you build, like instead of like what how I've explained it, like especially with like sandbox project or things like that, or anytime that you buy a property, you get a picture of the lot that you're buying. That's your own NFT. Anything that you put on it, if you put a dog, if you draw a penis graffiti on there, like you're gonna get that in the NFT, and it's just like it'd just be like buying real estate. You go and you look at pictures of the house. You go look at pictures. You go, okay, it has 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, or whatever. And this one's like, okay, this location is closer to the sandbox metaverse headquarters or what have you. And I think that like it is going to be a major part. I think it's going to be hard to get the majority of everyone on there because there's still enough people that just have a hard time texting on their phone or making anything beyond a phone call.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be able to get my grandma on.
No.
Unless like, so I think it's going to be probably another 10 or 15 years to get a lot of the legacy stuff out of there before it majorly like takes off. Like it's going to take off with the early adopters, but the vast majority of the population isn't going to understand what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's also whenever you talk about technology that's evolving so quickly, it's also like if it evolves too quickly, we don't get a foothold in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still don't know what it is exactly. So
yeah, and sometimes the early adopters get screwed out. Like,
oh yeah,
that's also a fact that I know somebody who just went and wanted to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the sandbox project and just basically got screwed over.
Yeah.
And they sold his property on there, and he was like, "What in the world's happening? I spent X amount of dollars on this. Like, it is my property."
Yeah.
And so it, like, for the vast majority of people, I would say don't get into it yet. Just because like they're not going to be able to deal with the technical and legal ramifications behind everything that's happening.
Yeah, and also like just think about it, the legal ramifications, they are behind. Like as of a fact,
There's no policies behind it.
yeah, it's always going to be behind because before you can make a law, you have to find out what is right and what is wrong, and like you can't predict that how it's going to be. You have to figure it out, and like if you take it with the Titanic, you know, at that time, you know the story about Titanic, but whenever it sunk, it didn't have enough lifeboats to save everybody. And that was because the law at that time was you only have to have, when the ship is this above this size, you only have to have this many lifeboats.
Yeah,
and so
there's like only 400 lifeboats on there total.
Yeah, okay, cool. I didn't know the exact number, but and so okay, Titanic was like, okay, well, now we have that. We can. It's an unsinkable ship, so we're not going to like have more than the law requires.
Sorry, there are only 16 there for 1,200 people.
Only 16 lifeboats?
Yeah, a mere 16 boats, plus like the 4, so 20 total to accommodate 1,200 people.
Oh, okay, that was a bit lower than I remember. Alright, but like the fact still remains that the law was only requiring them to have that many lifeboats, and because it was such a great ship,
they cut costs.
Yeah, of course.
I know it was.
Yeah, and like it was one of the biggest disasters.
And guess what? They followed everything legally that they could.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, it was an oversight to say only 16 lifeboats can support 1,200 people.
Yeah.
Like 100 people can't get on each lifeboat. That's just a fact. But like with that, guess what? Like the person who made the company, the only thing that can be charged is like an unintentional something. But since it was an accident, it'd be unintentional, like accidental manslaughter or whatever for it. But they can't sue them for the design of the boat. Because guess what? They followed the regulations.
Yeah, and so tough luck.
And same thing. It's like they're dealing with things in Congress or whatever in the U.S. that were applicable 10 years ago. Now that's like even barely applicable now. Like I'm trying to think of a specific one that I've heard recently, but like there's just things like how do you like because of how slow the cog of the government is, how do you keep up with this stuff legally? Yeah, it just physically isn't a way.
I actually have like a fun story. You know those electric scooters you can go on?
Yeah.
So here in Denmark, it's become more of a business where a certain business put a lot of different scooters around the city, and you have an app where you can pay and just use that scooter. And so in the early beginnings of that, because it was electrified, it was counting as an electrified vehicle. And that means in the face of the law, where you can't, here in Denmark you can't drive if you have a promille of over 0.5. Okay, that's illegal. But like most of the people were like, it's a scooter, you can't drive 80 kilometers an hour. So they went out in restaurants and so on and got drinking and wanted to go home on the scooters. And like one night, I can't remember how many it was, but like I think it was over 50, at least over 20, and I think it was over 50, lost the normal driver license, for the car, because they were more drunk on the electric scooter that you can only drive 20 or 30 kilometers per hour because you didn't have a helmet and so on. So that's just another example of like the law is always slow in that example.
Yeah. And it's just like with the same thing as like what's the regulations with electric vehicles? Like I'm trying to think of a certain thing, like Elon Musk was just like, we need regulation behind this. We need regulation around space travel. We need regulation around just different things. And he's like, he's been to Congress and said, we need this. And they're like, okay, but what can we do about it? And so he was like, okay, if you're not going to make regulation, especially AI is especially what I'm talking about with his Neuralink and all of this. He was like, we need, so that like there isn't an evil corp that comes around and literally affects people's minds and does mind control. So he's like, okay, then let me just build the basis of it. Like, and he was just like, okay. And that's how Neuralink started. It was like, he went and he said, we need regulation. They said no. And he said, okay, then I will create it myself so that I can regulate it.
Yeah. And also like with the AI, it's thinking so much faster than all humans. And so like, the people that are going to build an AI, their ethics needs to be fucking clear, crystal clear, and like good, because that shit can turn so easily on us. Like you can, there's plenty of movies to demonstrate it, and like the thing about it with the movies is the movie is supposed to make the humans look good, so we always win. If it comes to the Terminator and so on, we're going to lose no matter fucking what. The computers are not going to miss. Like, they're going to shoot where we are. The 6 places we are most likely to die. Sorry?
They don't have moralities.
Yeah.
It's not like they say, okay, here's what your human rights are. They're like, you're in my way. Yeah. Yes or no. Yes, take you out. No, don't take you out.
Yeah. And also, like, you can harm them. Okay. Robots can harm humans, okay, but like if I just direct you, do I harm you? No, I don't. So that's like a lot of gray areas. So hopefully we just go into the metaverse instead of with robots going to control us.
I hope that we continue going on like a good track, because if not, we're going to hit the dark ages again real quick. Yeah, and the thing is, if we hit the dark ages, it's going to be done for us. Because you hit an EMP.
Yeah.
In the world, we're screwed.
Yeah. And also, like, nowadays, people have built a robot who feeds on biological material, humans. That's not going to be used for war. Okay, you think so? Wow, that's not a good theory.
You just collect dead corpses around.
Yeah.
You don't even have to live in corpse. Like.
Yeah, like if one robot kills 20 people and just eats them up and can continue, dude, that's going to be fucking brutal. Like, put one of those in Asia and see how long it goes before all of Asia is done, or all of America or Europe or something like that.
I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, and
there's over like half of the population on like an eighth of the land mass.
Yeah.
In Asia, and so no thanks.
Yeah. So
Yeah, just no thanks.
But I think the metaverse is going to be quite big.
Yeah,
and
I think it's going to be quite big, but it's going to be hard for people to wrap around that it's not physical.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the biggest part about it. It's not physical. Yeah. It's not that understandable because it's not physical.
Yeah.
And so I think those are our predictions for this time, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Birdhouse podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, follow me on my Instagram at the Birdhouse Agency and share it to your friends and family, or rate it on Apple Podcast or Anchor. My name is Alexander Gulager, and I will see you at the next episode.